Thank you, Ceann Comhairle. And first of all, Taoiseach, you said at the outset that you've come in to pay the Dáil a courtesy in relation to the statement. And I would suggest to you that the Dáil deserves more than a courtesy. It deserves the fundamental presentation of a case justifying the government decision not to seek a backstop and not to seek a precautionary credit line. That's the very least that the Dáil deserve today. And I would respectfully to say...
Quiet.
Democracy here.
Please,
you going to know? And may I also say, Taoiseach, last week we had a debate in the House in relation to pre-EU Council statements. And I
won't ask you again.
And Taoiseach, I asked you at the time, and it was a good opportunity to present the case, the pros and the cons of whether we should have a precautionary credit line or not, and you refused to do so. And that has been characteristic of the entire position on this key issue, which is an important issue and deserves far more than the Dáil is getting today. Because 53 billion is needed over the next 3 years. And 35 billion of that is for maturing debt, and 18 billion is for the Exchequer public services to maintain those on the way. And the bottom line is this, Taoiseach, and you spoke about the implementation of the programme, and the Taoiseach did as well. But the bottom line is you voted against 70% of the proposals contained in that programme. You condemned, every member of this government condemned the programme that you're now slapping ourselves on the back for implementing with such a plan. And let's also be clear, there wasn't actually a need for this politically staged managed event, because we know that as a result of the decision taken by the General Affairs Council of the European Union last month, the actual date for ending the oversight arrangements of the bailout programme has been delayed until next February. So what the Cabinet has agreed here today is not to seek any new programme. It has not negotiated any exit or any backstop agreement. That's the decision that the government has taken in relation to that. And the key point, as I have said, the government, right throughout this particular programme, has not acknowledged the fact that it condemned it before the election and it voted against 70% of its measures. But notwithstanding that, Taoiseach, many economic analysts have said, and many people have advised, Taoiseach.
Would you please stop for a moment? Now listen, would you please allow the same courtesy as the Taoiseach and the Taoiseach got to all future speakers, without interruption? You can have debates after, but not insult. I don't care. There's an order made in this House that each speaker gets 5 minutes, and I mean 5 minutes uninterrupted.
Could have been done at the Cabinet on Tuesday.
I do hope. I know that the government...
You'll find your way outside the chamber if you're not careful.
Taoiseach, the key point here is there's a number of key issues I want to get across, and I think...
Just stay quiet, Deputy Byrd, please.
Clearly, parliamentary democracy is not something that government deputies cherish anymore in this House. That's the bottom line here. And I would just want to make the point, a number of points in relation to this, because it's an important issue for the country. And my fundamental view is that the government has put political strategy over what's right for the country. That's my basic point. And I'll say why. Because the decision not to seek a backstop arrangement, there has not been a single piece of paper presented to anybody as to the merits or demerits of so doing. Not one single piece of paper by Minister Noonan, by the Taoiseach, or indeed the Taoiseach. No figures have been produced about how much we would save in interest payments if we had this conditional funding available. And that's the key point. Because let's be clear, the only direct and proven impact of having conditional credit would be to reduce the risk of lending to Ireland and therefore the cost of that funding. That's the key point that should inform the decision as to whether we want a backstop or not. And many people outside, the IMF and the ECB clearly preferred if the country would seek such a backstop arrangement. And by the way, the ESM and the precautionary credit line system and approach is to support countries whose finances are becoming economically sound. So it's not a sign of weakness. It's a seeking of security and maximum security for the state, because there are headwinds out there. And as former Deputy Chief Executive of the IMF said, it's not that you might crash into somebody, but somebody else might crash into you. It's fundamentally an insurance policy. for the benefit of the people and for the benefit of the country. That's the issue. And let's not dress it up in any big political high drama or dramatics. I mean, we had a cabinet meeting on Tuesday. You could have easily made a decision then, as opposed to sort of a hurriedly arranged meeting today, a hurriedly arranged convening of Doyle, and the presentation of the issues. But that's fair enough. You're entitled to do that. But the key point is this, Taoiseach.
Sorry.
There are issues. There are issues across the Eurozone, Taoiseach, that are serious still, and we know that. And Mario Draghi didn't reduce interest rates last week for nothing. He did it out of deep concern about deflationary situation across the Eurozone itself. And the Greek situation is raising its head again, as you well know, and may be seeking further assistance. And Italy and France are not out of the woods, as we know also, and Spain. So those issues are important in terms of the overall context of the markets in which we will be borrowing and so on. And of course we have the bank recapitalisation issue potentially, and the stress tests that will come and which may necessitate some form of recapitalisation or other. And that's important, Taoiseach, because that could, and I hope it doesn't, by the way, I hope it doesn't, but it could potentially undermine our situation in terms of our capacity to borrow. Now, I will accept, Taoiseach, we have a backstop. It's an expensive backstop, and the 25 billion that the NT may have borrowed, with significant cost attached to that of 700 to 800 million per annum.
Sorry, Deputy.
And I would make the point, Taoiseach, that we have that, and the rates at the moment are favourable enough. I accept that. And in the immediate 12 months, there may not be an issue, Taoiseach. But the point is, in the aftermath of 2014, a lot of analysts are saying there could be difficulties, not just for Ireland, but for Europe. And it would have made sense to take out an insurance policy. That's all, Taoiseach.
Thank you.
To take out an insurance policy which would have been to the benefit of the people and the country.